Hi, I'm Kesenya and welcome to Guiding Star Astrology. I'm your Astro Weather Girl, here with this week's Astro Weather Report. I'm going to show you how the stars are going to affect your life this week. Saturn has crossed the north node of the moon, my friends, and in doing so, he has struck the gandanta degree, the first gandanta degree of Pisces. What does this mean for us all in the coming months? You're going to find out in this video. So thanks for joining me for this week's Astro Weather Report. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Share on your social media to go into the draw to win a solar return report for the month of April. Or why not purchase a solar return report from the Guiding Star Astrology website? You know what? My written astrology reports are at the perfect price point for everybody, and they are the best gift for a friend who has everything or a family member that you just can't think, what am I going to buy for them? Buy them a solar return report. Let them know what's in store for them this coming year ahead. So check out my written astrology reports at the Guiding Star website. Now, on to this week's Astro Weather. My friends, we have been in a state of transitional tension. You might have noticed this as new energy is being birthed on planet Earth amongst humanity, particularly obvious in the West, but also impacting the global South countries as well. We have now entered Saturn in Gandanta. Why is that? Because Saturn down here has moved to the 27th degree of Pisces. Now, what are Gandanta points? Gandanta points are the transitions between water signs and fire signs. It's used mostly in Vedic astrology, but you cannot help but notice the potency of these degrees and all that they represent. These points, they're associated with a lack of boundaries, specifically the boundary from the earthly realm to the spiritual realm. We're going from water energy, which is highly spiritual and otherworldly, to fire energy, moving from Pisces to Aries eventually. And of course, fire signs are all about creating on the planet. So we're moving from water to fire. It's a very spiritual process. Now, collectively, it's a time that is extremely favorable naturally for spiritual growth in our personal lives as well as in the world at large, and progress on a spiritual and consciousness level. So we're going to see in our own personal lives and in humanity as a whole profound transformations on a very large scale. Now, Neptune is already in Gandanta degrees and has been for some months now, and here comes Saturn to join Neptune in Gandanta. Big spiritual leaps forward, big rises in consciousness are coming our way. Unfortunately, as with most rises in consciousness, they often come as a result of struggle and tension, personally and also collectively in this case, because what we're seeing is a real shift in human consciousness right now. And that is coming out of the frustration, coming out of the struggle that we are experiencing as humans. These transformations, they impact obviously our collective lives, and you'll be looking around you at the people you interact with on a day-to-day basis, and you'll see the changes in them as well. They might be speaking out more. They might be exploring things that they never thought they would explore before, going deep into some kind of spiritual understanding that has eluded them. So you'll see this in your own life, in the collective, people around you, both directly and indirectly. Now, these, let's call them illuminating times of boundary crossing from water to fire, from spirit to earth, bring increased wisdom, especially when you've got an outer planet, like in this case, Neptune and Saturn crossing Gandanta degrees, transiting by conjunction these points. Now, obviously, we've got Neptune down here. Neptune is currently at Gandanta points as well, but Neptune's a more fast-moving planet, so her impact is it's not that it's not noticeable, but it's just less powerful, let's say, in the long term than an outer planet, especially Neptune, or if Pluto was at Gandanta or Uranus was at Gandanta. Those three particularly impact the collective consciousness and the rising of collective consciousness. Saturn and Jupiter at Gandanta degrees are much more, well, they affect the humanity as well, and the collective consciousness, but they also are very much more personal to us. So we're going into this time when the collective is changing, and at the same time, we're changing as well now that Saturn is at Gandanta degrees. Now, Saturn transiting this point, along with Neptune at Gandanta in the sign of Aries rather than Pisces, it brings us another chance to untie the knots of karma that have built up in our lives. Now, on a collective level, we can ask, will this lead humanity into a higher level of awareness so that we stand up and say, hey, no more of this exploitation, of this corruption, of this greed, etc. Or, are we going to just let this pass by, twiddling our thumbs, and miss this opportunity? Can you see this awakening of consciousness happening around you, my friends? Can you see people waking up, finally becoming aware of who's pulling the strings and causing all the trouble everywhere on the planet? I can see this. I can see people starting to go cha-ching. It all makes sense now. Now, on a personal level, untangling karma is difficult, but it is always liberating. You know, when we go through this process of facing our demons, looking at who we are, being honest about what we've done or haven't done or neglected to do and so forth, we come to a better state of being. It is liberating, you know. I see where I failed, or I see where I did really well, and I honor that. It is a liberating process to look our karma in the face and with great maturity, Saturn energy, face it, live it, and be honest and embrace it. Now, the process can be linked, as I said, to considerable trauma and struggle and upheaval, maybe even a dark night of the soul that you might go through while Saturn transits, perhaps if you've got personal planets at around 27, 28, 29 degrees of Pisces here. So it could be a dark night of the soul process for you. I do have a very dear person in my life who's got planets at this degree, who's going through a certain restructuring, rebuilding, refoundationing of their life because of this Saturn transit across Gandanta. Very powerful. Know, if you're going through this sort of thing, that out the other side, it is going to feel liberating. It's going to be like, how did I ever believe what I believed before? Live what I lived before? Choose to stay where I stayed before? Now, it's been hard, it's been tough, it's been a rocky road, but I am free. Thumbs up. So many of us may have been feeling these energies at this time, and we may continue to feel this as Saturn and Neptune cross these degrees, these Gandanta degrees. There's 6 degrees, the last 3 degrees of Pisces, first 3 degrees of Aries. They're going to cross these degrees many times over the next 2 years, especially Neptune. And this explains, my friends, why things have felt difficult. Often people say, oh, I'm walking away from astrology. I don't believe in astrology anymore. Why? Because it's not the magic solution to life's problems that they thought it would be. Astrology never promises to make everything right. Astrology is just the roadmap. Astrology is telling you this is going to be rocky. This is going to be uphill. This bit's going to be downhill. It's like a surf report. It's like a roadmap telling you what the waves are going to do, telling you where the road's going to take you. So people who walk away from astrology saying, my life's still shit, I don't believe in astrology anymore, they missed the whole point of what astrology is all about. But back to what we're talking about here. That's my little bugbear at the moment. This energy, Neptune at Gandanta, now Saturn at Gandanta, explains a lot about why things have been difficult. But don't forget, my friends, that through all this, we are actually being held by the minor grand trine that is formed between Uranus over here in Taurus, Neptune down here sort of hovering between Aries and Pisces, and Pluto in the early degrees of Aquarius. This creates a minor grand trine. I'll draw it on the board for you so you can see it. Hopefully it won't confuse what I need to talk about with you later. But there's the minor grand trine. That is celestial. These are the outer invisible planets angelically holding space for us. And I've talked a bit about this in past videos at the end of 2024 when this combination really began to form strongly. So these are the divine planets. It represents the angelic realm, the higher energies, the higher octave of life, the divine realm, helping humanity through this transition period that we're all going through. We have a lot to be grateful for these celestial planets holding space. And if you are struggling, I just encourage you, my friends, reach out in prayer to the unseen, invisible realms, because they are battling for our sakes, for justice, for righteousness, rebelling, Uranus energy, against the imbalances that are present in the world, and they're there to help. But you know something? This is an exciting time to having Saturn and Neptune, in this case, at gandanta degrees. So how we view this process, and therefore how we experience it, because life is very much all about our perception, isn't it? How we experience it depends on our vibration and our level of consciousness, our awareness of, well, hey, this is a birthing process. These are the labor pains leading to a whole new world, a whole new life for me. You know, when we can view these things with that level of stoicism and maturity and long-range vision, it just makes it so much more bearable. Currently, my husband David is going through his Sadie Sati. Anyone who's familiar with that concept knows how difficult that can be. But when we're going through it, if we know, okay, we're getting towards the end, we've only got a year to go, I can do this, I've come so far, I'm nearly there. Seeing the long-range view, we can make it. We can move forward because we have that higher level of consciousness, that higher level of understanding. And that's why in my heart of hearts, I just wish everybody would learn astrology, because if they knew astrology, they could read the roadmap so much better. They could listen to the surf report and get the most out of it and really ride those waves well. So knowledge is power. I say it over and over again. And I just wish everybody would learn astrology, because it helps with life more than anything else on the planet. I want to encourage you, my friends, even if you don't want to study astrology, try to keep your vibration high at this time for the next, I would suggest, even a year or so, as these planets, Neptune and Saturn, cross gandanta degrees. Try and keep your vibration high. That doesn't mean pretending to be happy when your heart is breaking, but it means living in as much love as you can, following your heart. And when you are able to, create joy where you can. Get out the good china. Don't leave it sitting in the cupboard gathering dust. Wear the beautiful dress down the street to go grocery shopping. Do whatever you can to bring joy into life for yourself and for the people you love and care about. It helps to keep our vibration high. It helps to keep our vision of beauty and abundance and prosperity and joy in front of us by living it in love and happiness and joy in the moment we're in. It's also, I would suggest, because of gandanta degrees being activated, a really good time to release the habits and the behaviors that are keeping you from your highest vibrational self. So that might require a bit of journaling and a bit of self-introspection to understand those things. And gandanta degrees can really help with that process now. Now, Pisces gandanta degrees, where Saturn is going to be transiting over the coming months, they're all about ending one cycle of soul growth and being born into another cycle of soul growth. So no surprises on the collective level that we're seeing the end of an empire unfold. We've gone as far as we can with that type of growth on a collective humanity level, and now a new type of collective awareness, a collective approach to life is being born. Same personally, who you are, let's say in a couple of years' time, when you look back at who you are now, it's going to be completely different to who you are in, say, 2 or 3 years' time when Saturn moves away from these gandanta degrees, and so does Neptune. You are going to change immeasurably during this time because you're being born into a new state of soul, thanks to these Pisces gandanta degrees. The Aries gandanta degrees, 0, 1, and 2 degrees of Aries, they're all about the soul realizing that it is connected to who it was before, but we are embracing the new. We're actually taking action and moving more towards the new potential and promise of this soul growth. So they're tied together. The Pisces is the leaving behind of the old soul, and the Aries is the welcoming in of the new soul experience. So it doesn't mean that you're changing to a different person, different soul. It's up leveling is perhaps the best way to describe it. You know, you're not going to become your neighbor down the street or anything. You're going to just up level the state of your soul into a new expression, a new way of being. Now, because of that, in the Vedic teachings, this can actually create a lot of confusion and energetic influences that can be hard to understand. And certainly in the comments section and people emailing me and so on, I see people struggling with this. I see people going, what is going on? I feel so confused. I feel so heavy. Life is so hard, etc., etc. And this, I believe, is one of the powerful reasons why. So as you can see, this is an important time, my friends, to hold one another in love. Find a community of like-minded people and support each other through this transition. Share, create, build, establish a new way of living in community. And you know, if you take this active part in ushering in this new epoch that's being born, you're going to come out the other side a stronger, more whole, more healthy person. That is my wish for everybody here as we go through this. So that is Saturn and a little bit of Neptune at the Gandanta degrees. But my friends, what I really want to look at today, for each sign, very shortly we're going to be going through each sign, is the formation of what is known in Vedic astrology as the Kaal Sarpa Yoga, or the Kaal Sarpa Dosa. This is something that is going to be being activated on the planet every 2 weeks from April 22nd, which has already been, through to July 22nd. So that's a whole 3 months of Kaal Sarpa Dosa. Every time the moon moves across the hemisphere between the north node of Rahu and the south node of Ketu. Now, I'm going to explain what this looks like. Here is the north node and here is the south node. Let's draw a line between them. And this is going to represent a hemisphere. I'll just move. There we are. So Saturn, as I've been telling you, has just crossed the north node. The north node's at 26 degrees of Pisces and the south node 26 degrees of Virgo, and Saturn is now at 27 degrees. So boom, Saturn has moved beyond the north node. And what this has done, as you can see in the sky here, it's put every single visible planet, not the celestial planets because you've got Pluto out here, every single visible planet, and then 2 celestial planets I'll add as well. They don't usually consider that in Vedic astrology, but we can point that out. It is a thing. Every single planet except Pluto is in this hemisphere between Rahu and Ketu. So we've got Venus, which has recently just crossed the north node. We've got Saturn, obviously. Neptune's there. Mercury's there. Sun's there. We've also got Uranus, Jupiter, and Mars all in that side of Rahu and Ketu, south node, north node. And that forms this Kaal Sarpa Yoga. Now, the only planet that's going to give us a reprieve from the Kaal Sarpa Yoga is this, the moon. Every time, and now the moon, as you probably well know, the moon moves throughout the horoscope every month, through every sign. It's in a couple of days in each sign, and it takes roughly 27, 28 days for the moon to move through all of the signs. Now, when the moon is moving between, in this case, this week, 26 degrees of Aries, 26 degrees of Pisces, where this Rahu is, and it moves round to 26 degrees of Virgo, where the south node is, that is going to make the Kaal Sarpa Yoga, because the moon is also needed to be considered to form this yoga or this dosha. Once the moon moves beyond the south node into this hemisphere, where we've only got Pluto, remember in Vedic astrology they don't count Pluto, Uranus or Neptune, so we've got the moon here, then the Kaal Sarpa Yoga is not complete. It's not working because we've got the moon out of that hemisphere. Every other planet is there, but the moon is not. So the moon is very important for the coming 3 months. Let's pop the moon up here in Taurus where it's having a new moon this week. The moon is very, very, very important because it is the governing factor for the next 3 months of whether we're going to be having a Kaal Sarpa Yoga effect on the planet and in our personal lives or not. Now, I'm going to take a moment here, if you don't mind, and talk about Vedic astrology. Firstly, like many people ask in every single video I produce, am I Vedic or Western astrology? If you find that important, then you probably should know just by looking at the chart that I'm using that it's a tropical chart, okay? If that's really significant and vital information for you, you probably should know just by looking at the readings that I'm doing, what particular system I'm working with. But please know, my friends, I've trained with teachers in both Vedic systems and Western systems. What I adhere to are the teachings of Ernst Wilhelm, who practices Vedic astrology techniques with a tropical astrology chart. Now, there are deep and powerful reasons why I've chosen this method. Believe me, I would be way more popular on YouTube if I practiced sidereal Vedic astrology. I'd be huge. But I choose this path because I know it works. And its philosophy makes so much sense. I don't choose this because it's going to give me popularity. That's not what I'm after. I'm after teaching here on YouTube every week astrology that works. So if you want to understand the deeper wheres and why-fors of why tropical astrology versus sidereal astrology, and I do think sidereal astrology is very important and does hold a lot of keys to our lives. So don't get me wrong, I don't disregard it at all. But if you would like to know the depth of why I choose this system, then I can't go into it here, it would take hours, but I recommend undertaking level 2 of the Royal Stars Academy, where I talk all about that. Or you might like to do simply a dive into advanced astrology at the Royal Stars Academy. That's where I talk about Rahu, Ketu, the North Node and the South Node, eclipses and things caused by Rahu and Ketu. And I talk about many Vedic astrology techniques that are powerful to use in our lives and our observations of our charts, including yogas like this Kaal Sarpa Yoga that we're discussing at the moment. So I just had to spell that out because I know I'm going to get questions galore in the comments section. And to save myself the trouble of answering everybody, I just thought I'd mention it here. No excuses to ask questions now. Back to what is happening in our skies with the Kaal Sarpa Yoga. So last week, Saturn crossed the North Node, putting all these visible planets, as I said, in the hemisphere between the North Node and the South Node, and creating the much feared Kaal Sarpa Yoga Dosa in Vedic astrology. And basically what this means is considered that the planets involved in this Kaal Sarpa Yoga Dosa, mainly all the planets, are becoming ineffective. They won't produce the greatest potential that they represent. Now, in some ways, that can be good because any evil represented by those planets won't manifest in such a dire way. But similarly, any great success represented by planetary combinations and aspects and so forth will also not reach their full potential. So things are weakened. The energy is weakened by this dosha. Now, humanity, therefore, is destined to go through a lot of ups and downs between now and the 22nd of July because of this Kaal Sarpa Yoga. Why is the 22nd of July important? Because that's when little old Mars, in our time clock here, is going to move beyond the South Node on the 22nd of July. Boom, it'll all be over. Mars will be out of that hemisphere. So we're looking forward to that stage, and things will start to get more powerful and come back to normal at that time. Now, the term Kaal, K-A-L, means time, and the term Sarpa means serpent. This is the time serpent. In Vedic astrology, these shadowy planets of Rahu and Ketu, they represent the mouth, Rahu, hungry, hungry, and the tail, South Node, excretion, they represent the mouth and the tail and the body of a serpent. So no surprises that this Kaal Sarpa Yoga is caused by the nodes of the moon. It's the time serpent, and it generally brings about effects that go along these lines. It can bring delays in the workplace or with various projects. It can bring losses in business and obstacles in business to growth. It can bring struggles with mental health. So these are things to be aware of. It can bring issues with physical health and issues with anxiety. Of course, that's a mental health issue as well. It can bring misunderstandings between people and in relationships, and it can bring general relationship friction. So these are things that when the moon is spending 2 weeks creating this Kaal Sarpa Yoga, we need to be aware of. And then the moon moves over into this non-Kaal Sarpa Yoga area. And that's when we get, breathe out for a second. It's like deep breathing, really. Hold your breath when it's going through that 2-week process of Kaal Sarpa Yoga, and then, when the moon moves through here. And this is actually going to last 3 months until the 22nd of July, as we know. But the Kaal Sarpa Dosa Yoga has some positive aspects as well. It can make us actually very hardworking and practical. We put our nose to the grindstone, as they say. We become more interested in spirituality and philanthropy, which of course is desperately needed on the planet right now. Some people are also likely to reach great heights as this dasha unfolds, because the combination of planetary energies in interaction with their personal chart may actually prove beneficial. Not everybody's going to have that. Generally, this is a difficult combination. But if you've got other really powerful blessing yogas in your chart, then the Kaal Sarpa Yoga may not kick your ass in the way it will for many other people. But it's not all gloom and doom, my friends. You may be just one of these people that this dosha actually uplifts. Fingers crossed that's the case for everybody watching this channel. Now, because all the planets are going to be on the right side of Ketu, the south node, this means that we need to be very careful of just staying in our comfort zone and ignoring this tremendous opportunity for spiritual growth. Even with Neptune and Saturn in Gandanta encouraging us to grow spiritually and evolve into our new soul destiny, the fact that we have all these planets on the right side of Ketu means that we're going to need to actually force ourselves to take the risk, to make the change, to face the fear, and to move beyond our comfort zone for our long-term well-being. It's not going to come easily because we're going to be so tempted to just stay in our happy place, in front of Netflix, with our block of chocolate and our bowl of ice cream, just enjoying the show. We cannot let that be the case. We need to force ourselves out of our comfort zone if we're to get anything out of this time. And yes, my friends, it's going to feel like we're banging our heads against a brick wall, trying to move forward, trying to make the change, trying to progress. But if we don't try, then the winds of change are just going to pass us by. If we do try, success is likely to arrive after this dosha finishes in July. So it's so important to force yourself to be the change, make the change, face the fear, as I said, and do what you need to do to make the life that you want. Know that if you do, as the majority of planets at this time are more influenced by the north node than the south node. So yes, they're on the right side of the south node, but they are all closer to Rahu, the north node. This tells us that you are going to be able to move into serious life success, but only by embracing the change like I just described, only by going for it and being patient, enduring, and stoic, pushing forward despite no obvious signs of growth or change until after this dosha is finished on July 22nd. That's how we approach this. That is our strategy, my friends, for dealing with this energy. And I do hope everybody watched the introduction and got that message. Because if we can live that way for the next 3 months, enduring, patient, stoic, trying, pushing, moving forward, even though we cannot see any signs to encourage us to do so, then we're going to see the benefit. And that's what I want everybody watching this channel to be able to experience. So my friends, that's enough of an introduction. And this is quite a heavy, interesting topic. These yogas are fascinating. I have a whole chapter on yogas in the advanced level of the Royal Stars Academy. But we're going to now break this down for each sign. And it is a little different in its effect for each sign. This Kaal Sarpa Yoga that's going to last 3 months. And of course, we're starting with Pisces because this is the axis where a lot of the action is taking place. Rahu is in the first house, the north node, Ketu, the south node, in the 7th house. And when this positioning is formed, it's putting, as you can see, all the planets, when the moon is on this particular side, every 2 weeks of the hemisphere that's formed by Rahu Ketu, it's positioning all the planets in the southern hemisphere of the chart. There's nothing visible in the sky for Pisces rising sun or moon people. Everything's underneath, everything's down below. Now what this represents, and I've just been talking about this, so it's doubly so for Pisces people, is that success for Pisces people is likely to come more slowly over the next 3 months. We already know that. Extra so for Pisces. What is going on, Pisces, is that you are in a state of observation, looking at what is happening in the world around you, observing it, absorbing its impressions, trying to understand your place in this world, trying to understand what you can do to make the most of this energy. You're very perceptive, Pisces, so you do, pick up on what's going on, get a feel for what's going on, but take your time with it. Don't bust your gut trying to make things happen, just a steady 1 foot in front of the other. Do what you need to do to move forward, to get out of your comfort zone, and leave the rest to universal timing. Very important for Pisces people with all the planets down below. I would also point out that you've got all the planets, except for Mars and the moon, this is when the moon's in this side, down in this first quarter of the horoscope. This means that if you're in your later age, so sort of from 70 onwards, this is going to be a very busy, active, important time in your life. There's going to be a lot of events unfolding, not necessarily bad events, but just events. Lots of activity, lots of action, lots of opportunities that are coming your way. If you're kind of over sort of 70 at a push, you could think sort of in your mid-60s as well. Lots of action for people in that stage of life because this quarter of the chart is very activated for Pisces people. Again, you'll be incubating your observations of the world, getting ready to sort of poke your head above the earth, so to speak, like a little carrot top coming out after the yoga is finished. So there's no rush, but you may be quite busy in this time incubating your success, getting ready to produce it. Now, I know that a lot of people at that age are sort of like wanting to slow down, and many people want to retire. Not everybody, but many people do want to retire at this time. But that doesn't mean that life is any less busy. You might have a lot of doctor's appointments to go to, or be going on a road trip. In Australia, most people, we call them grey nomads, head off on, big round Australia trips, especially during this time of the year, in the winter, sort of autumn winter time, they head on up to Queensland, to the warmth out of the cold southern states, and that's a lot of activity. So it could be something like that this is representing happening in your lives as well. My beautiful Pisces rising, everybody else, those of us who are under sort of 65, 70, be very careful of the temptation to get involved in get-rich-quick schemes during this Kaal Sarpa Yoga when the moon is on this side of the hemisphere of the north and south node of the moon. Things like gambling, playing the stock market, buying too many raffle tickets and, depleting your savings because of it. The losses at this time can actually outweigh the wins with this energy. So be economical, be sensible, and simply live within your means now. Don't go into debt. Don't go, taking out massive loans for frivolous stuff. As I said, be very careful of your money right now, especially as there's a lot of activity for Pisces people around the second house in Aries. In the negative as well, you might have to wrangle, some of you, with the law, with the police. There might be frustrations in relationships, and there can even be, because this is all being triggered from the first house, there may even be some health issues that you do need to address. So remember, keep that Saturnian approach of stoicism, patience, and endurance, knowing that this is a 3-month process. It's a breathing in and breathing out process. As the moon moves through this realm of the chart at the top, you can breathe out and catch your breath and get your balance again. So time any new instigations, because the first house, as we know, Pisces, is about beginning new things, and time any new instigations, new projects, time any entrepreneurism or any endeavors to put yourself out there in the world for when the moon is moving between Libra to Aquarius. That's your best chance of seeing some success come from your endeavors. Now also, Pisces, if you are 27 years old or over, you might also find that these impacts are a little less pronounced, less difficult, and you might actually see gradual progress coming your way instead of the heaviness and the difficulties. That is provided that you're implementing that Saturnian perspective that I just talked about of patience, endurance, and stoicism, and looking to the 22nd of July and the end of this Kaal Sarpa Yoga, when things are going to shift and change and all the work you've done may actually come to your benefit. So moving along, we're going to move to Aquarius, which is putting the Kaal Sarpa Yoga between the 8th house and the 2nd house. So we've got the South Node in the 8th house, and we've got the North Node in your 2nd house, Aquarius, putting all the planets down here in this hemisphere. So be wary with this combination for the next 3 months. Whenever the moon is in these signs here, Pisces to Virgo, be very wary of your public reputation and how you react to other people now. Be very careful of what you say and how you use your words, because you know something, with this Kaal Sarpa Yoga in this realm of the chart, you might be more subject to rumors, to gossip, to defamations. So keep your integrity at the highest level. Don't give anybody any reason to run you down, to say bad things about you, or to defame you in any way. There can also be difficulties with your intimate love life. So approach any private moments with others with care and with caution, and also with a high degree of consciousness. I would suggest, look, it's your life. Do what you want. If you like to sort of, do the one night stand and sleep around, that's your business. But my encouragement for you over the next 3 months while this Kaal Sarpa Yoga is in play would be, try to put that kind of stuff on hold for 3 months, because it could be troublesome. It could lead to difficulties for you by going down that road, okay? Be more conservative for 3 months, and then get back into, whatever old life you enjoyed living once the Kaal Sarpa Yoga is finished, okay? And if you are already naturally conservative in the bedroom and with your love life, then just keep doing what you're doing. Be very careful and conscious and that sort of thing. You might also have a bit of a roller coaster ride with your inheritances or any issues to do with wills and financial matters like loans and mortgages and things like that, where you're borrowing money off other people or you're lending money to other people. So things can be difficult there. Think twice before you sign on the dotted line under this Kaal Sarpa Yoga. Of course, when the moon is in these signs, what have we got? Libra to Aquarius during the month, that can be a better time for looking at those sorts of things. So do time signing on the dotted line or taking out a loan for when the moon is not forming the Kaal Sarpa Yoga. Like I said, practice a conservative approach, and this includes to spending. Practice a conservative approach to saving during these 3 months, and you will see your way clear through the challenges of this Kaal Sarpa Yoga. Time any investments that you're going to make, any savings implementation, and any big purchases, as well as any sort of deep, intimate moments, I would suggest for when the moon is somewhere between Libra and Aquarius over the next 3 months. Now, if you are over 33 years old, the impacts of this yoga might be less potent than for those under 33 years old. If you're over 33, you might see gradual financial progress instead of difficulties. But again, there is a need to be patient, enduring, and stoic, knowing that the efforts that you're putting in now will come to fruition, and perhaps you'll see results not until Mars ends the formation of the Kaal Sarpa Yoga on July 22nd. Thank you, Aquarius. All right, moving along to Capricorn. Capricorn rising, Capricorn sun, Capricorn moon, people. Well, we've got Rahu and Ketu, south node and north node, making an axis here between your 3rd and 9th house, and that is forming the Kaal Sarpa Yoga in this portion of your chart. Now, this is happening, as I said in the introduction, between the 22nd of April to the 22nd of July for 3 months. And during that time, it can cause domestic problems. So mostly these domestic problems might happen in interactions with siblings, with cousins, with aunts and uncles, relatives, perhaps also with neighbors in your immediate surrounding area, in your street, or the farm next door or something. So there can be community, like domestic problems in your immediate area, and relationships with relatives can be fraught with a bit of friction because of this. Now, because of this yoga forming on this axis in your chart, siblings, cousins, aunts, uncles, neighbors, they might find that they are having to work hard. So because you've got this in your chart, those people are going to be affected by the Kaal Sarpa Yoga. We all are, because it's happening to all of humanity right now. Nobody can stop this unless you're wanting to try and hold Saturn back or something like that. Good luck. But everyone's going to feel this. But because you've got this going on in your chart, it's the flow on is to the people that are represented by this axis, particularly the Rahu people, Rahu in the 3rd house, cousins, aunts, uncles, relatives, etc. So they are going to potentially have to work harder than usual, and they may not get the rewards that they desire from the effort they're putting in. So if that's the case, I would suggest, my beautiful Capricorn people, reaching out in love and support. Make them a casserole for dinner one night. Pop around with a cake you've baked. Go and give them a helping hand with the shearing or whatever it is that they're doing, so that they're not feeling, that overwhelm, that exhaustion, that I'm doing everything I can and I'm spinning my wheels. Let's reach out and help one another. See how knowledge is power with astrology. When you know this, you can step in and give kindness where it's going to be of the most benefit. You can support one another in the best way possible, and it can be received well. So knowledge is power. Astrology is just so enlightening. Now, my friends, if you have your own business, particularly if that business has anything to do with buying and selling, or if your business is dependent upon strong marketing and advertising, or you run workshops or teaching, then you might be experiencing for the next 3 months a bit of a dry patch because of the Kaal Sarpa Yoga forming here. So I would suggest timing any advertising or marketing campaigns, any workshops or teaching sessions, any sort of significant buying and selling pushes for when the moon is actually moving from Libra to Aquarius. It's going to do this 3 times in the next 3 months. So that's the time to do that sort of work and to work for your small business. The rest of the time, like I said, it's tumbleweed city and the crickets will be chirping. Don't stop trying. Don't keep, don't sit on your laurels, rest on your laurels. Get out there and keep making the effort, knowing that the change and the blessing will come when the Kaal Sarpa Yoga is finished on July 22nd. Now, if you are over 36 years old, then the impacts of the Kaal Sarpa Yoga might be less, and you might see sort of very gradual, step-by-step business progress instead of the difficulties. But that is provided you're approaching this period with the patience, endurance, and stoicism that's needed, where you're doing the work, you're working hard, but you're detached, you're not looking for the rewards or the results until after July 22nd, when the Kaal Sarpa Yoga finishes. Moving along, thank you, Capricorn. Oh, Sagittarius, rising, sun or moon people. Right, guys, Kaal Sarpa Yoga for you is forming from the fourth house axis to fourth house down here where Rahu is, to the 10th house axis where the south node Ketu is. And so all the planets are in this hemisphere of the chart, meaning the hemisphere of fate. Now, because of that, my friends, Sagittarius particularly is going to be very much at the whim of the waves of the universal energy. So the universe is going to do whatever it needs to do, and you're just going to have to ride that wave. You're just going to have to surf. You're just going to have to go with the flow, because this is the hemisphere of fate where all the energy is for the next 3 months. So trust, endure, and grab that surfboard, my friends. Also, you have the majority of planets for the next 3 months sitting down here in this quarter of the horoscope, which means that if you are sort of age roughly 45, 50 to 65, 70, you are going to experience a lot of busyness. So yes, fate is playing its hand and dishing out its karma to you during this time, if you're between 45 to 50 and 65, 70. So things might be coming back to haunt you or coming back to bless you at this time. All this energy and action in this realm of the chart, this quarter of the chart, is saying things are going to be unfolding for you that are very important right now. You must respond to them in the best way possible with the highest level of consciousness that you can, Sagittarius. But know that there mightn't be any progress or results until the Kaal Sarpa Yoga is finished. But you're going to be busy with things, okay? Now, talking a little bit more about the Kaal Sarpa Yoga on this axis, there can be obstacles with fourth house things like real estate, property development. If you're wanting to create a garden or grow some vegetables, if you're planning on doing some farming, if you're wanting to do some renovations, things can be difficult with those themes whenever the moon is transiting between Pisces and Virgo over the next 3 months. So keep that in mind if you're going to be doing any property deals and so forth. Wealth creation can also prove rather problematic now. It's not that you're going to, go bankrupt or anything, but if you're trying to progress and move forward, you feel like you're spinning your wheels, like you're a hamster just running and going nowhere. So there's difficulties and a feeling of roadblocks with wealth growth. And also general education can also experience some roadblocks because of this Kaal Sarpa Yoga as well. So your professional life can also suffer a little bit, your aspirations for, growing your career and moving up the ladder, so to speak. Some people might encounter a financial loss due to family members. Mum needs some help, so I have to stop working for a week or two to go and take care of mum because she's sick. Family members, through no fault of their own, can cause financial struggle or loss or a problematic family situation. I would also suggest, Sagittarius, guard your mental health over the next 3 months. Guard whatever brings you happiness now. Protect that source of happiness in your life. Practice mindfulness, practice prayer, seek support from those you love and who know you and who understand you, your deep, intimate tribe, if life is just getting a bit too much. Because this is the realm of the chart, the fourth house, where all this begins. The fourth house is about our mental well-being and our happiness. So protect that at all costs. Protect yourself from the energy vampires as well that are everywhere. You know, I'm going to go off on a tangent here. I know some people like it when I do that. I'm sure there's some people that hate it. Tough luck. Go find a different astrological channel if you don't like me saying what's on my mind. I can't help it. I have moon with Uranus. But Dave and I are so, I'm sick of people. It's so simple and so small, cutting us off when we're in a bakery or we're in a cafe waiting to place our order. People were just bowling in and knowing that you've been there waiting and stepping in front of you. What is with that? God damn it. 3 planets in Libra. I cannot bear the lack of politeness that is seemingly everywhere in Western society at the moment. What is going on? Western societies never used to be this way. There used to be look somebody in the eye and say, have you been served? Okay. Or if you hold the door open for someone, you look them in the eye. That person should look you in the eye and say, thank you. It's polite. What is happening? To me, those little tiny acts of rudeness every day are destroying our society. They are energy vampires. You might think that an energy vampire is somebody that is attacking you on YouTube. Yes, that is an energy vampire. Somebody's bringing you down and so on and so on. But no, it's all these little impolite, rude actions all day, every day that actually are part of the energy vampire situation on the planet. So thank you for allowing that tangent, Sagittarius. I do appreciate it. Protect yourself from the energy vampires everywhere for the next 3 months because they'll really trigger you, as I am being triggered. Protect yourself by honoring your needs. Retreat to your private space when necessary. And I would suggest speak up when somebody is goddamn rude. Our societies need to function at that, and I'll say it, that old-fashioned level of respect and politeness if they are to function well as societies. Okay, I'm going to leave that aside. Thank you. Now, my beautiful Sagittarius friends, if you do need to do renovations, decorations, some sort of building, gardening, farming, those sorts of endeavors, then, and even sort of professional endeavors that are significant and important as well over the next 3 months, I would just suggest timing those things to take place whenever the moon is moving between Libra and Aquarius, because you're going to get better results when that Kaal Sarpa Yoga is not in action. And that's when, as I said in the introduction and explained it all, that's when things are going to be a little bit easier. And also, Saggy, if you're over 43, the impacts of this Kaal Sarpa Yoga might be less, and you might see some gradual progress in your life instead of difficulties, provided that you are patient and enduring and stoic and not expecting to see results for your efforts until after July 22nd when the Kaal Sarpa Yoga finishes. Thanks, Sagittarius, so much. Moving along, we're going to go to Scorpio rising, Scorpio sun, Scorpio moon, people. Well, guys, the Kaal Sarpa Yoga for you is forming between the South Node in Virgo and the North Node in Pisces. And this puts all the visible planets here on this side of the horoscope. So this is happening between the 5th and the 11th house. And it's a period where your luck might be curtailed. It might be low. So because of that, it's not a time to take risks. It's not a time to sort of do any gambling or, make extreme decisions on the fly. Really, we need to, I spoke in the introduction about getting out of your comfort zone. Absolutely. But with this combination of the Kaal Sarpa Yoga, you need to make decisions with due caution and consideration, not just diving in, not looking, not going without looking before you leap. And avoid gambling at all costs, I think, because you will actually probably come off worse for wear because of the nature of the Kaal Sarpa Yoga here. Now, rewards for your efforts, your creative endeavors might feel really lackluster. feel really low. And if you're studying, if you're a high school or university student, you could actually experience some disappointments with your results right now. I'll talk a little bit more about how you can time things so that may not be the case, because I know it's really, really important. But I just wanted to say Kaal Sarpa Yoga can bring that about in life. Now, if you are a career person right now, you can experience some upheavals also because of this. The 5th house is the 8th house from the 10th house of career. So yes, you might experience some upheavals, some change, some redirectioning with career because of this Kaal Sarpa Yoga in the 5th house and the 11th house. However, because the 5th house is a house of blessing, and in many respects so is the 11th house, because it's a house of rewards and gains, things should turn out all right in the long run if you persevere, if you are enduring, if you are looking at the long range results instead of expecting them in the moment. Okay, so keep that in mind. That's career-wise, okay? Some people who've got this combination might be feeling unwell at this time. How you take care of your body and your health could be your undoing right now. So do honor your needs. If you've got a cold, if you're tired, if you're run down, make sure you get enough sleep, enough vitamin C, eat healthy, all the good things that you need to do to support your body's journey. Some people also might be the victim of some sort of secret enemies right now. People that are against you that you aren't even aware are against you. So these are just some of the things Kaal Sarpa Yoga can trigger when it's on this axis. So I would suggest, my dear friends, time your creative endeavors, time your studies and exams wherever you can, time your romantic overtures. If you want to tell someone that you love them, I wouldn't really be inclined to do that during a Kaal Sarpa Yoga season, but some of us can't wait. So if you must, time those romantic overtures and time your important sports games and time your significant career changes for when the moon is moving from Libra to Aquarius each month. This Kaal Sarpa Yoga lasts, as I said in the introduction, for 3 months, and it's going to be very much dependent on where the moon is sitting, how it impacts your life and how detrimental it could be to your life. So do keep your eye on the moon. Now, if you are over 48 years of age, the impacts might be a little less than for those under 48 years of age. If you're over 48, you might see gradual progress happening in life instead of obstacles and difficulties, but that's only provided that you apply patience, endurance, and stoicism to all your endeavors, not looking for any results until after the Kaal Sarpa Yoga winds up on the 22nd of July. Thank you, Scorpio. Libra rising, Libra sun, Libra moon people. We have a Kaal Sarpa Yoga, as I said in the introduction, forming, and for you guys, it's forming between Virgo and Pisces, your 12th house and 6th house. Rahu's in the 6th house, north node, and Ketu, south node, in the 12th house. Again, with this combination, Libra, there can be problems with your domestic life, your daily routine, and actually harmony in your home space during this season. And this season's going to last 3 months. Nothing seems to go smoothly under Kaal Sarpa Yoga here, but just do your best to flow with what's happening and tackle each problem as it arises. Don't, go into fear and apprehension and so forth. Have some strategies, Libra, to counteract worry, anxiety, racing thoughts. For me, I'm a Libra moon person, so my strategy is over these next 3 months as we head into winter in Australia to take some time out. And 12th house energy, go and have a little holiday, maybe a weekend here, or go for a country drive one Saturday there, or just to have that time out, something to look forward to, perhaps every week. It could even be just a movie night on a Sunday evening, something to keep my mental buoyancy. As for the domestic life being perhaps full of disharmony and upheavals and so forth, what can you do to sort of keep that at bay as much as possible? maybe keeping the house decluttered and tidy and going through all your cupboards and making sure everything is sorted can sort of, keep you from losing your shit when you go to the linen cupboard and it all comes out and falls on top of you because someone's jammed everything in there. So you know what I'm saying. Use your common sense and keep things running as smoothly as you're capable of during this season in your home environment. Now, some people, Libra, will actually succeed over their competitors and enemies during this season. So in many senses, this can be a positive for Libran people. However, we do need to be very careful, Libra, of deceptions from extended family members. That is also possible here, aunts and uncles, etc. So, do your best to keep your karma clean at this time with how you're dealing with competitors and enemies in your life. Do your best to, keep your karma clean with any family members and any interactions with family members. Be respectful, be polite, be very Libran. And that way nothing will come back to haunt you down the track once this Kaal Sarpa Yoga is finished. Now, my friends, to get the most out of this energy and work with it to your advantage, I would suggest timing any spring cleaning, any domestic work, fixing up an old, tile roof that's falling apart or something, whatever you've got to do, any home life, etc. Time any instigation of new routines, time any visits to healthcare professionals for when the moon is moving between your sign Libra and Aquarius. If you do that, you're going to get the benefit of the Kaal Sarpa Yoga not being fully in formation. When the moon is moving from Pisces to Virgo, then you're actually in the Kaal Sarpa Yoga and things can be very difficult and heavy and constrained. So use this energy, this knowledge wisely for the next 3 months every time the moon is moving between Libra and Aquarius. Now, Libra, if you're over the age of 54, the impacts of the Kaal Sarpa Yoga might be actually less in your life, and you might instead see gradual progress instead of difficulties. Now, this is provided that you are patient and enduring and stoic, fully knowing that the efforts that you're putting into your life right now might not reap rewards until after the Kaal Sarpa Yoga ends on the 22nd of July. So do keep that in mind if you're over 54. If you're under 54, you just got to keep going, keep trying, regardless of the results, because that's what this energy is calling you to do. Thank you, Libra. Okay, Virgo rising, Virgo sun, Virgo moon people. You have the Kaal Sarpa Yoga on your relationship axis forming with Rahu and Ketu in first house, or north node, south node in first house, seventh house axis, and that puts all the planets above the horizon, up in the visible portion of the sky if you're Virgo rising sun or moon. So you do need to be very wary for the next 3 months about your public life. You need to be very conscious and integrous about what you're putting out in the world right now. What you say, what you do could all come back to haunt you for good or for ill, depending on what you're putting out there. So think twice before leaving that comment on that YouTube channel. Think twice before spreading gossip. Think twice before making that Instagram post. What you do now, what you put out in the world, like a social context or career-wise or regarding your aspirations, etc., could have very long-ranging effects on your future. Be very careful now, Virgo friends. One thing that you can see, Virgo, by looking at this chart is that all the planets are clumping up, except for Mars and sort of Pluto down here. All the planets are clumping up in this quarter of the chart. Now, this happens to be very influential if you are between 25 years of age and 50 years of age. It means that you're going to be extra busy if you're between that age bracket because there's so much energy focused on that quarter of the chart. You're going to be running to and fro and doing this and that and juggling many things, many balls in the air. There might be many opportunities presenting themselves to you. Do keep your eyes peeled for such things. The thing is, you're so busy right now with all that energy there, but it's still a Kaal Sarpa Yoga. So the positive results of all that busyness may not fruit or manifest for you until after the 22nd of July when Mars moves across the South Node. So keep that in mind. Now, romance, because this is a relationship axis this is forming from, can be rather difficult when the moon is transiting the signs between Pisces and Virgo through this Kaal Sarpa Yoga area. So romance and love could be hard at that time. So try not to stress if your idea for a date or if your longed for deep and meaningful discussion with a partner doesn't eventuate during the moon's transit between these signs. You know, it could just fall flat or not go the way you want it to, or be really ineffectual. If you're also awaiting some news about some ancestral property, Virgo, this is a time during the Kaal Sarpa Yoga that you might need to apply greater perseverance than usual, because obstacles can really mar the way, can muddy the waters, can put roadblocks up everywhere, okay? You might also find, Virgo, that your interest in occult and philosophical or even spiritual studies and topics really gets going under the next 3 months' energy. And it's actually an excellent time to pursue those things, because you will get so much more out of your research, out of your studies in these types of realms than you usually would. So it's a good time to join the Royal Stars Academy or any other astrological or philosophical, occult or spiritual teaching programs that might float your boat under this energy. This is one of the few good things that this Kaal Sarpa Yoga can actually do for you. Another thing to remember, my beautiful Virgo friends, is to be wary of wanting to run away from the world. I'm a Pisces. I know all about that. The going gets tough and we wriggle away like a little fish in the water that just vanishes. I know you're a Virgo, but this energy can have that sort of Piscean influence upon you where, you know, something goes wrong and that's just it. You ghost somebody, you run away, you don't face your challenges head on. Running away from the world, escaping can be your downfall at this time. So also something that can prove detrimental is giving away things that are precious to you now. Okay, I went through this, well, I don't think it was a Kaal Sarpa Yoga influence at all, but I went through this maybe a year or so ago. I had the coolest, I think I've talked about this online before, the coolest atomic lamp. Those ones, the real 60s ones with the leaning in pole and a big sort of dome. It was funky as, but my house is so full of groovy old furniture. I'm so blessed. I had no room for it. So instead of putting it on Facebook Buy, Swap and Sell, and selling it, which I should have done, or keeping it, which would have been even better, I just gave it to the local thrift shop. What an idiot, In the moment, it seemed like the right thing to do. And things like that could really come back to haunt you by the time this Kaal Sarpa Yoga ends on the 22nd of July. So think twice before you give things away that are precious to you, okay? You might regret doing so after July. I would suggest, Virgo, timing your important interactions with any marriage partners, business associates, professional people of any description, any clients, any interactions with your general audience that's important. Time those things for when the moon is moving between Libra and Aquarius each month, because they're likely to go better. The Kaal Sarpa Yoga will not be activated when the moon is moving between those signs. So that's a better time to be working with this energy. And remember, this is lasting 3 months. I talked about this in the introduction. Now, if you're also over 60 and a Virgo rising sun or moon person, then the impacts of what I've talked about might be felt at a lesser degree than for people under the age of 60. Instead, you might see some gradual progress with these themes, but that's provided that you cultivate an approach of patience, endurance, stoicism, and the knowledge that the fruit of what you're working on right now may not manifest for you until after the 22nd of July when the Kaal Sarpa Yoga is all through. Keep that in mind. Thank you, Virgo. All right, my lovely Leos, Leo rising, sun and moon people. Well, for Leos, the Kaal Sarpa Yoga is forming because of the Rahu-Ketu axis in Pisces, Virgo, your second house, 8th house. Rahu's in the 8th house, Ketu, the south node, is in the second house. So your mental health and your physical well-being might be affected by this Kaal Sarpa Yoga, all the visible planets on this one side of the horoscope forming at this time. So be aware, Leo, that you might feel more paranoid, more obsessive, more melancholy, or more irritable for the next 3 months because of this. You know, people could push your buttons very easily. Listen to my Sagittarius rising interpretation, guys. I'm a Leo sun. You'll see that this is already in play. People are pushing my buttons. I've been a bit irritable about certain things. Certain minor things I'll point out as well, but worthy things, damn it. Okay. My friends, Leo, you may desire to speak out against injustices now. I like to speak out against injustice. I think it's so important. I have Uranus with my moon. It's part of who I am to want to do that. I can't fight it. But it may do you no favors during the Kaal Sarpa Yoga period, Leo. It might cause you more trouble than it's worth to say your piece, to speak up, to stand up in class and, give them a serve, or to, jump on YouTube and let it rip, or heaven forbid, hopefully nobody on this channel is one of these, to be a keyboard warrior, getting really cranky about something from the safety of their little den. Speaking out, I usually encourage, because people need to speak up and not be censored. I'm a big believer in freedom of speech, and it's being curtailed horrifically in the West right now. And it just boggles my mind how this can be happening, especially in America, when they have such a fabulous constitution that warns against not having freedom of speech. Anyway, that said, the astral energy, the celestial energy that's forming with this Kaal Sarpa Yoga over the next 3 months is not favorable for Leo people to say their piece. So I would suggest you might like to bide your time. Maybe write out what you want to say in a letter and just save it. So, put it in the computer until after the 22nd of July when the Kaal Sarpa Yoga finishes, and then post it online, or, give a speech on that topic. Do it then if you must. Keep that in mind. I don't want any of my Leo friends, including me, to get into trouble for speaking our truth right now during a difficult astral energy. Now, also, Leo, you might find that you're working quite hard now, working very hard on a career, a house, a marriage, a business, whatever it is, and you feel like you're getting nowhere. It's the hamster spinning in the spinning wheel. So there can be ups and downs also in financial matters, legal issues, and ups and downs generally with being, getting what it is that you deserve for the efforts you've been putting in. And nothing is more frustrating than seeing nothing come from what you're putting out there. But keep in mind, Leo, this is the nature of Kaal Sarpa Yoga that puts these obstacles in the way. And like I said in the introduction, we've got 3 months of this energy forming in the sky now. If you must speak your truth or take bold steps to instigate a new life and turning over a new leaf, if you must write wills or do something that generally deals with other important financial documents, then time it for when the moon is moving between Libra and Aquarius each month. Because when the moon is there, the Kaal Sarpa Yoga will not be being activated. That's your chance to take some steps forward with those themes that I've been talking about here. Now, look, also, if you're over 33, my beautiful Leo friends, the impacts of what I've just described might be a little less, and you may actually see some gradual step-by-step progress in your life instead of the obstacles and difficulties I've described here. But that is only provided you are practicing patience, endurance, and stoicism, knowing that the fruiting of all the things you're working on and the energy you're putting into things may not blossom until after Mars leaves, or Mars crosses the South Node on the 22nd of July and ends the Kaal Sarpa Yoga. Heads up on that one. Excuse me. Thank you, Leo. Cancer rising, Cancer sun, Cancer moon people. Okay, guys, you have the Kaal Sarpa Yoga forming between, oopsies, let's get this right, between Rahu, North Node in Pisces, and Ketu, South Node in Virgo. So all on this side of the chart. Now, when we have Rahu in the 9th house and Ketu in the 3rd, and the Kaal Sarpa Yoga forms, this is a rare occurrence, but an important one, then there can be troubles in business affairs, okay? There can be difficulties with buying and selling or running a small business. There can also be, for some people, some unexpected downfalls if you're in a position of power. So, I mean, look, this could happen to anyone in any type of position of power. You know, the head of the tennis club might fall from grace, or the president might kamagutsa, as we say in Australia, because of this energy. So if you're a Cancer rising sun or moon person, or perhaps country as well, you might, if you want to look at it through mundane astrology, there could be some serious downfalls in power and position that occur. So frequently though, the reason that this happens is that it's a result of people being too dogmatic. My way or the highway. You've got to follow my rules. The way I think is the only way to think. People being too dogmatic and not seeing the perspective of others, and generally taking a selfish disposition. So what's the antidote there? Don't be dogmatic. Be sure to consider what other people think and weigh things up. Is it going to be fair if we only go down my way instead of what works for everybody? That is one way to approach things that may prevent a downfall of power, a downfall of position. Very important, especially if you're talking on a political level. I won't go down that road. We have to consider the benefit of everyone in the nation, not just those at the top. My beautiful Cancer friends, this Kaal Sarpa Yoga combination can mean that in some way, shape or form, you might have to fight for your rights. Now, if you listen to my introductory piece, you'll know that I said getting off the couch to go and stand up for something might feel almost impossible, so hard to do, because the energy is kind of, I don't want to get out of my comfort zone. But we know we have to get out of our comfort zone if we're to see the change that wants to be born. So it's a real seesawing energy, push-pull, tug-of-war energy going on as a collective in humanity and going on within us. Cancer, you may have to fight for your rights. Fight for what you deserve now. And it's, from what I can see of this energy, it's the time to do so. You've had Mars just leave your first house. So Mars is now sitting in Leo, a much more beneficial energy for Mars than Cancer was. So the fight might be easier to navigate now that Mars is in a stronger position. Let's hope so. Now, if you must speak your truth and stand up for your beliefs and your ethics, if you do need to plan some and instigate some changes to your business or your career direction or your life purpose, as is the nature of this axis, the best time to do so each month for the next 3 months is going to be when the moon is moving from Libra to Aquarius. So you've got to keep your eye on the moon if you want to work with this energy well. That is going to be the time when the Kaal Sarpa Yoga is not in activation, because the moon won't be part of it. So best time to do things that I've just been describing might have trouble at other times in the month. Now also, my beautiful Cancer friends, if you are over the age of 36, the impacts of what I've just described might be less, and you might see instead some gradual progress, with power or position, some gradual progress with standing up for your truth, some gradual progress with some kind of business affairs, because you're over the age of 36, which is an important component of how this axis is working, this yoga is working. But this is all provided that you are patient and enduring and stoic and not looking for the manifestation of your efforts until after Mars crosses the South Node on the 22nd of July and ends this Kaal Sarpa Yoga period. So knowledge is power. Work with the energy to the best of your advantage, and you will be able to navigate this next 3 months much better. Thank you, Cancer. All right, Gemini. Gemini rising, Gemini sun, Gemini moon people. Well, the energy of the Kaal Sarpa Yoga for you guys is being formed because Rahu and Ketu, the North Node and South Node, are sitting in the 10th house, 4th house axis of Pisces, Virgo. Now, this is actually very important. All the mutable signs have some very important energies that the other signs are not experiencing with this Kaal Sarpa Yoga. And the reason is that in this case, as you can well see, all the planets, the visible planets that we use in Vedic astrology, are falling on this side of the chart, which is the hemisphere of free will. You know, Gemini, you have more chance than most people to steer life where you want it to go at this time. However, it might still feel like you're pushing the proverbial you-know-what uphill. So keep that in mind. It's going to be hard work, but you do have a little bit more going for you in the free will department than the other signs do. Also, I would suggest that for you guys, you've got all this energy of the planets grouping up here in this quarter of the chart. And this means that for you, if you're under 25, there's going to be a lot of busyness, a lot of activity, a lot of change happening in your life. If you are a Gemini rising person, because you've got all this activity in the hemisphere of the first 25 years of life. So, busy times for Gemini, hard work for Gemini, application of free will for Gemini, but there may not be any fruit or blossoming from all this dynamic until after the 22nd of July when Mars crosses the South Node. What I can say is that it's a time where you really need to honor your mother and father at this time. Okay, mum might have been a complete troll your whole life long, and dad might have been foul, and you might want to have nothing to do with them. And that, if that's the choices that you've had to make in life, my heart goes out to you, because that's a tough choice to make, and it's shit that you've probably had such a difficult childhood. But when I say honor your father and mother, it's important if the father and mother are worthy of honor. If they're not really bad people, okay, they might have said the wrong thing from time to time, or they might rub you the wrong way from time to time. But if they're, at heart good people, honor them during this time. Reach out, have a phone call, have a chat, check in on them, make sure they're doing okay. It will help the challenges of this period to be remedied somewhat by honoring your father and mother. In the Vedic culture, where all this knowledge is coming from, they really are very focused on family and family bonding and family connection and so forth. It's an admirable component of their culture for sure. Now, in the West, we all know, and I've just mentioned this, that sometimes we can have shit relationships with a father and mother who aren't deserving of our honor. In that case, don't go there. Don't cast your pearls before swine. So with what I'm offering here, do consider your personal circumstances first and foremost, okay? But for those who can honor their father and mother, it will help ease a lot of the obstacles and blockages that the Kaal Sarpa Yoga can bring about. Now, as I have been saying or said in the introduction, you might actually achieve success at this time. Certain people will have success. However, if you do have success, my beautiful Gemini friends, while the moon is moving from Pisces to Virgo through this Kaal Sarpa Yoga placements, the success that you achieve might be very unlikely to bring you any kind of happiness. You might, get some sort of reward or gain or some recognition or accolade, but deep down you're like, it feels unsatisfying, I remember years ago I got my master's degree, and it was so tough. getting it because I started my master's degree and then I went through my divorce. And so I had to plod through this master's degree. It took me ages to do, years longer than it should have taken because I was a single mum of 3 kids. It was very hard. And I got to the end of the road. I wasn't happy with the thesis that I produced because I just couldn't give it the time and attention and quality that I longed to do. And I know I just scraped by. So yes, I achieved the success of my master's degree, but it didn't come with a great deal of happiness. I was disappointed in I never got any sort of negative feedback or anything, but I knew I could have done better. So there was a level of disappointment, not a level of happiness when I passed my master's degree, knowing that I could have made, if circumstances had have been more supportive for me, I could have done a lot better than what I did. So this is what I mean. Yes, you might achieve success, but, if that success comes when the Kaal Sarpa Yoga is being activated over the next 3 months, happiness will not be there accompanying that success, okay? There can also be problems in your professional life and your family life that take away your joy, steal your joy. For example, maybe you've got excessive interference from family members that's just making your life miserable at this moment for the next 3 months. So instead of enjoying family, loving family, you're like, oh my gosh, here they are again. Oh, just leave me alone, Family members making life miserable. Example, okay? There can be many ways that can play out. I would suggest, my friends, with this energy, time your career steps, time your family interactions as much as you're able to, time any family dynamics and interplay with authority figures in your life for whenever the moon is moving between Libra and Aquarius each month. This Kaal Sarpa Yoga, which I described in the introduction, is going to last 3 months. It'll finish on the 22nd of July, and during that time, the moon will 3 times move between Libra and Aquarius. That's when you time your activities regarding what I've been talking about. You'll get more out of them because the Kaal Sarpa Yoga will not be being activated at that time. My friends, if you're over 42 as well, the impacts might be less, and you might see gradual progress in your life instead of the difficulties and obstacles I've described. But that is provided that you approach life with a level of patience, endurance, and stoicism, knowing that the efforts that you're making and the work that you're doing and the pushing that you are giving to life may not fruit and manifest for you until after the Kaal Sarpa Yoga is all said and done. Thank you, lovely Gemini. All right, Taurus rising, Taurus sun, and Taurus moon people. The energy of the Kaal Sarpa Yoga is forming on this hemisphere of the chart because the axis of Rahu and Ketu, south node, north node, south node, I should say, is falling between Pisces and Virgo, the 11th house and the 5th house. So what this means is when Kaal Sarpa Yoga is activated over the next 3 months, some of you might be having a time when your memory is not working the way it should. You can't remember where you put the car keys or why you're doing the job you're doing, or there's just an energy of memory loss that comes with this combination. Temporarily, don't get too panicky. It's just, that momentary transiting period of the Kaal Sarpa Yoga. You might be more vague, you might be more absent-minded, you might be more distracted. Now, of course, this can make life very difficult if you're studying or you're facing exams or you need to memorize important information for a speech or something. So, guys, support yourself with whatever mechanisms you need to help you at this time, Get plenty of rest and relaxation. Write some dot point notes that you can take with you when you're giving your speech or something. Do what you need to do to support yourself. Don't take these difficulties too much to heart. Recognize this is just an energy. You don't need to get panicky because, I'm not thinking straight anymore or whatever. It's an energy and it will pass. So hang in there. This is also another signification for domestic challenges, and especially any domestic challenges that are to do with property growth, real estate growth, accumulation of prosperity, property and so forth, and accumulation of wealth. So there can be challenges in all those areas. This is both of these houses, 11th house and 5th house, are wealth connected houses in Vedic astrology. So having the Kaal Sarpa Yoga forming from those 2 points can mean there's challenges to getting the rewards and gains that you deserve, and seeing results for effort in that regard. Certainly it's not a lucky combination either, so I'd be hesitant to gamble or do any kind of financial risk taking at this time. Also, children in your life might struggle under this energy as well. So if you're a parent, or if you're a teacher of young children, if you're a caregiver of young children in any way, honor your children. Keep them at the forefront of your mind. Make sure that you give them plenty of cuddles and support and time and understanding. Love them heaps, because children can really be going through the ringer. Whether they tell you about it or not, this energy can be hard on your kids if you've got this energy. So my friends, we should be timing our property purchases, any contracts that we need to make, any significant interactions with children, any exams, any studies, any important social interactions for when the moon is moving between Libra and Aquarius each month for the next 3 months. Because that's when the Kaal Sarpa Yoga will not be getting stirred up, and you're likely to achieve better results. Now, if you're over 48 years of age, you might also find that the impacts I've just spoken about are less. So you might see more gradual progress in your life instead of the difficulties and obstacles that I've been referring to here. But that's only provided that you're patient and enduring and stoic, and knowing that all the efforts that you're putting in and the efforts that you're making will probably not fruit for you until after the 22nd of July, when Mars crosses the South Node and ends this Kaal Sarpa Yoga period. Keep that in mind. Thank you, my beautiful Taurus friends. Lucky last, Aries rising, Sun and Moon people. Guys, if you're in Aries, then you have this Kaal Sarpa Yoga forming here on the 12th house, Rahu, 6th house, Ketu, axis. Rahu is the north node, Ketu is the south node, for those who don't know. So this is a combination that's putting all these visible planets down here in this portion of the chart, which means that there's some physical struggles that might be present in your life now. And these physical struggles might express through the mental plane. So your body might be struggling, and it impacts your mental well-being too. Maybe you've had a cold for weeks. You can't seem to shake it, and it's making you depressed. It's making you frustrated, that kind of thing. Physical well-being is impacting your mental well-being at this point in time. So be very conscious that that can be one of the expressions of this Kaal Sarpa Yoga. Also, Aries, you need to be very conscious and wary of gossip right now. People doing the dirty behind your back and trying to bring you down can also be one of the effects of this energy too. Knowledge is power. If you know that you're more prone and susceptible to gossip now, you can keep everything above board. Keep your integrity intact. Keep your karma clean, so people have got nothing to pin on you. Do the best you can with that, and you can avoid that energy. If people are doing the dirty behind your back, maybe they're gossiping or whatever, or maybe they're, trying to bring you down in some way. Again, keeping your integrity is one of the best approaches. So people can throw mud at you, but it just doesn't stick. Now, this is a difficult energy, as it is for everybody. Kaal Sarpa Yoga, if you listen to the introduction of this video, is not fun. But for you guys, no matter how much you succeed, like success, as I said in the introduction, sometimes success can come with a Kaal Sarpa Yoga. And if you do succeed in something that you've been working on, the unfortunate thing with this energy is that you're left with a feeling of dissatisfaction. Life feels blah. Life feels common. Life feels disappointing with this Kaal Sarpa energy. And so you might be struggling with the depths of despair no matter how successful things are on the external realm. Inside, it's like meh, So do keep that in mind, my friends. this energy, I've described it for everybody, and it's not the easiest of energies. But when we have the moon moving between Libra and Aquarius, we can get better results because this Kaal Sarpa blah energy is actually not activated at that time. The Kaal Sarpa Yoga doesn't form when the moon is moving between Libra and Aquarius. It's only when the moon is here in this portion, this hemisphere, that the Kaal Sarpa Yoga is enacted. So time your holidays, periods of rest and relaxation, anything fun you want to undertake over the next 3 months, time your creative endeavors, and any efforts to maintain your health and well-being, time that for when the moon is moving between Libra and Aquarius. It's going to do so 3 times in the next 3 months. So do use some sort of astrological software, find out when that's going to be so that you can time things to get the best results with them. Now also Aries, if you happen to be over the age of 54, the impacts that I've just spoken about, feeling blah, people gossiping about you, having some struggles with your mental health, they may be less. You may not have as much of a difficult time or a difficult struggle. And you might see more gradual progress unfolding in your life at this time instead of the obstacles and difficulties I've talked about. But that's only provided that you are patient and enduring and stoic, knowing that the efforts that you're putting in, the work that you're doing to enhance your life probably won't see any fruiting or blossoming until after the 22nd of July when Mars moves across the South Node and ends the Kaal Sarpa Yoga. So my friends, that's the energy of the coming 3 months. I hope this report helps you to navigate it well and find solutions to the problems in your life, knowing what you know about the astral energies. I'll be back with another astro weather report for you next week, and I'll catch you then.